Everyone, today our presentation, the topic is epistemology. And now let's turn to our table of content. And this is our table of content. And now let's turn to the first part of the introduction.
Good evening, everyone. Today, we invite you to take a short journey into one of the oldest and most fascinating areas of philosophy, epistemology, also known as the theory of knowledge. Have you ever asked yourself, how do I know what I know? Or perhaps, can I be certain about anything? Well, these questions lie at the heart of epistemology in a world full of information, misinformation, and uncertainty. Understanding what counts as knowledge has never been more important. So today, we will introduce you to the definition and key characteristics of epistemology, then explore how knowledge is formed, and finally, and with some reflections on why this matters to us today. Now, let's move on to the first person introduce what is epistemology.
Okay. Epistemology comes from the Greek word epistema, means knowledge, and logos, meaning study or discourse. It's the branch of philosophy concerned with the nature, origin, and the limits of human knowledge. At its core, epistemology tries to answer three fundamental questions. First, what is knowledge? Second, how is knowledge acquired? Third, and last, what do people know and how do they know it? The most widely accepted definition of knowledge, at least in traditional Western philosophy, is justified to believe. That means a person must believe something. That belief must be true and there must be justification or evidence for that belief. However, this definition has been challenged by thought experiments such as Adam Hitter's famous paper in 1963. Which showed that belief could be justified and true, yet still fail to be knowledge due to luck or coincidence. So even today, the definition of knowledge remains an open debate. Okay, that's all of my part. Let's turn to next part.
Let's talk about part two, characteristics of knowledge. To better understand knowledge, philosophers have identified several key characteristics. First, choose knowledge must propend to reality a false benefit, no matter how necessary, is not knowledge. The second benefit, you can't know something unless you have belief. However, belief alone is not enough. Three, justification. This is the injury reason or message that supports your benefit. In science, this may be explanations in laws. It might be testimony or documents. 4. Reliability. Some rules, as the proof used to gain the benefits, must be reliable over time. 5. Awareness or accessibility. Some philosophies argue you must also know that you know. Concepts called multi-knowledge. These characteristics help us differentiate knowledge from opinion, perception, or guesswork. Let's turn to part 3. Okay, now let's turn to my part, the formation and sources of knowledge. Now, let's explore where our knowledge comes from. In philosophy, there are four main sources or series of knowledge. Now let's look at the first. Empiricism. This theory argues that knowledge comes from sense experience. Think of scientists collecting data through observation and experimentation. Key philosophers include John Locke, David Hume, and later the logical positivists. And now let's turn to the second. Rationalism. Rationalists believe that knowledge comes from reason and logic, rather than the senses. René Descartes, for example, believed that reason is the foundation of all certain knowledge. I think, therefore I am. Now let's look at the third, constructivism. This view emphasizes that knowledge is actively constructed by individuals, often influenced by culture, society, and language. It's popular in educational philosophy and is tied to thinkers like Piaget and Vygotsky. Now let's look at the fourth, testimony and authority. Much of what we know in daily life, such as historical facts or scientific findings, we accept based on the credibility of others. This raises important questions about trust, expertise, and bias. And epistemology also examines skepticism, the idea that we can doubt or question whether anything can truly be known. Skeptics challenge us to justify our claims and avoid blindly accepting assumptions. Now let's turn to part E.
Okay, let's talk about the fifth contemporary series of knowledge,
In response to Gettier and skepticism, contemporary epistemologists have developed more nuanced theories. The first one is reliabilism. Defines knowledge as true belief produced by a reliable cognitive process, such as a perception, memory. The second one is virtual epistemology. Emphasizes the character of the knower, virtues such as honesty, courage, and careful reasoning, as seen as essential to acquiring and sustaining knowledge. The last one is social epistemology. Recognize that knowledge is often shared and constructed through social institutions, such as education systems, the media, the scientific communities. It examines how trust, testimony, and social power domestically influence what we accept as knowledge. These perspectives are particularly important in contemporary debates over misinformation, conspiracy theory, and the role of artificial intelligence in shaping belief. Okay, let's turn to the next part.
So this is the final part. After we get known about the epistemology, so here comes the question: why should we care about all of this? So actually, in an age of information overload, social media, and fake news, understanding how knowledge is built and evaluated helps us think critically and question sources and resist manipulation. So epistemology isn't just an abstract field. It gives us the tools to ask, how do I know this is true? And is my belief well-founded? So by studying the epistemology, we learn to distinguish between the belief and the fact, between justified confidence and blind assumption. It encourages intellectual humility, while recognizing that we don't know everything, and that some of our beliefs may need to change when we encounter the new evidence. It also sharpens our decision-making across many areas of life, whether we are analyzing the scientific data, evaluating the political claims, or even reflecting on our personal values. In a world where knowledge is power, epistemology teaches us not only how to gain the knowledge, but also how to earn it, test it, and respect it. So ultimately, the epistemology reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge is not about having all the answers. It's about learning to ask better questions. So that is all about our presentation about the epistemology today, and thank you for your attention.